You're listening to the Poo Podcast. My name is Dosta. Here we discuss all things poo. Please do subscribe and comment. And now I present to you episode number 13 from season 1 on the Poo Podcast. When I think about all the times that I've got myself into a sticky situation with needing to poo, there's one time where I actually sort of got out of a sticky situation because I needed to poo. It was actually the thing that saved me, in a sense. It's the thing that almost got me off the hook, although you could actually argue whether I really was in trouble or not. And the story is that I got pulled over by the cops. Now, let me give you a bit of a background, which was that there was a period where somehow, in some way, for some reasons known to me and some reasons unbeknownst to me, the cops were always pulling me over. And there were a number of times when the cops had pulled me over or sort of pulled me up and I actually was doing something wrong and didn't get caught, quite luckily. And I have to come clean. I have to actually fess up as to what it was that I've alluded to before in the past. And it is that, well, I was painting graffiti. So graffiti is illegal. Graffiti is a jailable offence in Australia. And there have been many nights when I'd been out painting graffiti and the cops had turned up and I had to work my way or talk my way out of a situation. And I remember one time it was just after I'd painted this spot and I came back from painting it to get to my car and found that my tyre had gone flat on my car. And luckily I had parked far enough away from the painting spot and I had to call for some roadside assistance to help get the tyre changed. But in the meantime, the cops turned up and they were hassling me. They were saying, "What are you doing here?" And of course I was sort of like, hang on, all you can see is that I've got a flat tyre. Like, why are you hassling me? And then another time I had actually been painting, I'd been painting a coal train, and the cops had pulled me up and it was in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the smallest country town. And I'd been driving away from the spot, and when I'd seen them, I'm sort of, had hurried off and I thought, I shouldn't have driven off so fast, because they did actually catch up and then say, "Well, looks like you're trying to get away from something." And they're sort of hassling me and sort of saying, "What are you doing out here? What's your story? Why are you driving around this country town this late at night?" And all the while I was within like a couple of blocks of what they could have seen that I was just painting if they'd just been able to see it and put two and two together. Thank God that they didn't. And then another time, right? This is all in the space of a couple of months. Another time, I was actually working as a pizza boy and delivering pizzas, and the cops had pulled me over and sort of followed me around. And they're like, "Why are you driving so suspiciously? What are you doing?" And it was like, I'm working as a pizza boy. What? Is that not an honest job? Is that not honest work in this day and age? And the story was that I was sort of on the radar for them, and they were sort of trying to track me down, trying to trip me up. And in the space of a couple of months, I think I got pulled over 6 times or something. And part of it also was that I had a pretty bad bomb car. And I think, you have this thing that is a certain level of car which you call a cop magnet. Some cars are just cop magnets, and I had one of those. So these two things together meant that, well, I was on thin ice. I was getting very close to getting done for something or for the cops just catching me out. And the final straw, or the sort of lucky dip of the sort of culmination of these things happening with the cops, was that I got pulled over and they were questioning me, and I really had to go. Like, I mean, I really had to go. It was bursting. And I was like holding my breath and just squeezing my butt cheeks while I'm trying to explain to this officer that I'm not doing anything wrong. You know, this is a conversation. How many times did I have this conversation with the cops? I'm not doing anything wrong, and I'm just trying to get away. I'm just trying to explain some story so you will leave me alone, and please don't give me a ticket, and please don't search my car, and please don't check my history or any of that, right? And I'm just like trying to explain this, and eventually I just blurt out to him, look, I really need to poop my pants, and if I stay here much longer, I'm going to have to run into the bushes. Is there a law against public defecation, right? Normally we hear about the defamation cases. Well, what is the I can't even pronounce it. The defamation case or the defecation case? Which one is it, Mr. Officer? So, luckily I was able to explain this, and the police officer was sensitive enough to see that, well, this kid really is holding his breath and he must be clamping his ass cheeks tight together, so we'll let him go. And I got away, and then eventually I did have to actually bolt into the bushes. And I wondered, after that situation, like, is that a kind of get out of jail free card? Like, if a cop pulls you over, could you fake that? Like, say you're speeding, or you go through a stop sign, or you run a red light or something, and the cops come after you, and then when they pull over, you just sort of jump out and run into the bushes and say, hey, don't follow me. And then you come back and you say, oh, sorry, but I just pooped my pants. Would that be like a sympathy get out of jail free card or get off free card? Or would that like incur another, you'd probably get a fine for it, right? There probably is some sort of public indecency or a defecation case. Defamation cases can be expensive. I don't know about defecation. It's such a tongue twister, isn't it? But I don't know. I mean, I don't really want to test it because I don't want to poo my pants in front of the cops. Because of course the other thing is that when you get pulled over by the cops, you do sort of naturally poo your pants a little bit, like especially if your tendency is to involve yourself with slightly shady business, as I have been known to do in the past. I mean, it's not really illegal, the stuff that I'm doing. It's not really hurting anyone, but it's slightly shady. It's slightly thrill-seeking. So when the cops pull you over, it is sort of like, oh, you know, that excitement does get the bowel movements going. So I always wondered, like, what would have happened if I had have just got out of the car and just done a massive smelly poo right on the side of the road with the cops watching and everything. Like, would they have given me sympathy, or would have I got the fine? I don't know, and I don't really want to test the theory. Maybe you can write in. You can leave a comment on the podcast if you've had a sort of similar experience, because it's sort of like the thing where if you're pregnant and you're giving birth and it's an emergency, right, the cops are going to be like, well, yeah, get to the hospital, right? So like, what's the difference there? What's the difference between giving birth to a baby and doing a poo? Like, I don't see any difference. They're both emergency cases, right? They're both worthy of running the red light or speeding to get to the bathroom or to the hospital, right? So I don't see it. I don't see the difference. But somehow I don't think that would fly with the cops. So that's my story for this episode. Please do share your favorite episode with a friend. I hope you're enjoying these. So subscribe, leave me a comment. and we'll be back soon with more. Bye for now.